That's Just pop that back up a little bit.
That's fine. Just watch the levels.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready. Yeah.
Okay, welcome back, everyone. Hello, and it gives me great pleasure to welcome to the stage Banner Theatre and In a Right State.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Dave.
Hello, big boys. I'm Fred. Hello.
Hello.
Hello! That's better. Yeah, I'm sorry I'm late. Just got back from Switzerland. My name is Vince.
And Matt at the back of the room. We've had a very hairy day today because the half of the exhaust fell off the van on the way up, and then Vince got stuck at the airport, and then the hard drive packed up on the computer. He's called back on again magically, so we're here anyway. Yeah, tonight we're doing In a Right State. It's not the main touring show we're doing at the moment. We're doing a show called Chicago, the Great Teachers' Strike, which looks at the attack on education that's going on globally. This is a rolling union show. We've been doing this ever since the economic crisis began, and we keep adding new bits on and updating it as events unfurl. It's a kind of living newspaper, and it's a collection of songs and stories and interviews that we've done with different people. I'll start off with this song, which is called The Bedroom Tax. We didn't write this one. It was written by a guy called Adam McNaughton, and which I thought was fine. Why bother to write a song if someone's written one already? The only problem is he comes from Glasgow, and they speak a different version of English over there. So I've had to translate the song into Brummie so that I could still deliver it. So I'm terrified one day it's going to turn up in the audience and take umbrage at the massacre we've done on his song. It's got a chorus. Can you see that? Yeah. Yeah? Well, you got better eyes than I have. The chorus goes like this. It's a wee bit loud, Matt. Can you turn that down a bit? Okay. So, you want it in D? Alright.
I want it in D.
It goes like this. Oh, you're not allowed a spare room in a pokey council flat. Ian thieving Duncan Smith has put a tax on that. He says go find a smaller house, another Tory con. The odds against you finding that are 99 to 1. You alright with that? Yeah.
Do it again, I don't trust them.
Nice and loud, alright? council flat. Ian thieving Duncan Smith has put a tax on that. He says they'll find a smaller house and another Tory con. The odds against you finding that at 99 to 1. Okay, that's kind of B minus. Can we move up to A star now? And start shaking the cobwebs out of the ceiling. Right, one more time, let's hear ya. You're not allowed a spare room in a pokey council flat. Ian thieving Duncan Smith has put a tax on that. He says they'll find a smaller house and a Tory con. The odds against you finding that at 99 to 1. I'm a council house tenant. I live on the 19th floor, and they're telling us we're not allowed to stay here anymore. Say we take up too much room and they can't agree to that. With a 6 by 10 foot box room where you couldn't swing a cat. Ah, you're not allowed a spare room in a pokey council flat. Ian thieving Duncan Smith has put a tax on that. He says they'll find a smaller house and another Tory con. The odds against you finding that at 99 to 1. Well, my aunt is in a wheelchair, but Duncan Smith don't care. To meet the banker's deficit, she'll have to pay a share. 60 quid a month, they'll take the lever to a fate. While the millionaires get tax cuts served on the silver plate. Ah, you're not allowed a spare room on a pokey council flat. Ian thieving Duncan Smith has put a tax on that. He says they'll find a smaller house and another Tory con. The odds against you finding that at 99 to 1. Well, down at Old Book Palace, there's a very spacey plan. And a tenant there gets benefits that would really drive you mad. A civil list of perks worth £90 million. And a dozen other mansions lying empty all year round. You're not allowed a spare room in a pokey council flat. Ian thieving Duncan Smith has put a tax on that. He says we'll find a smaller house and another Tory con. The odds against you finding that are 99 to 1. Well, those MPs down in Westminster cost us a tiny sum. With their second on the park bars, they think we're really dumb. They fiddle their expenses. What a little Tory farce. When they tell us we are scroungers, they're talking out their arse. Oh, you're not allowed a spare room in a pokey council flat. Ian thieving Duncan Smith has put a tax on that. He says they'll find a smaller house and another Tory con. The odds against you finding that. The odds against you finding that. The odds against you finding that are 99 to 1. Well, the next song is called The Yes Men, and it's dedicated to all those politicians in high places, those members of the judiciary, the police, the media, who say yes. They say yes to big business, they say yes to finance capital, they say yes to capitalism. And they generally say no to us. We introduced this song with an interview we did with John MacDonald, who is, of course, now the Shadow Chancellor of the Exchequer. John.
Deregulation has meant that all the government's interest basically is about protecting finance capital. You will see that people from government ministries, civil servants and ministers will be in a revolving door with big business now. So you'll see large numbers of ministers will, when they end becoming ministers, will become consultants and go into large corporations.
The yes man stand by party lines, cultured tones, painted smiles. The labor away on TV, auto cue, so at ease. They proudly proclaim their policies new, but the story's the same, protecting the few. We will not lie down, we will rise, we will fight, we will not lie down, we will walk through the darkest night, we will walk through the darkest night.
You know, the most important are the people of this country, and the public services are there for the people in the country, and I just say to that government, just watch out, because we won't sit back and allow them to take away our public services. We'll fight all the way.
The yes men say yes to a man, creating the new master plan. A shock doctrine thinly disguised, with a fig leaf of media lies. All that is ours, they would take away, but the crisis is theirs, and we will not pay. We will not lie down, we will rise, we will fight, we will not lie down, we will walk through the darkest night, we will walk through the darkest night.
The yes men have reached the last hour in the service of profit and power. Famine and war they have sown, every last living thing must be owned. They would consume our rivers and seas, the earth, the sky and the dreams we dream. We will not lie down, we will rise, we will fight, we will not lie down, we will walk through the darkest night, we will walk through the darkest night.
We're not greedy, we're not selfish, our members are decent, hard-working people, they're loyal, they want to provide quality public services, they want to make sure that our kids are properly educated, that they get food in their belly at lunchtime, that their parents can go to work, to expend their minds, to enhance their life.
The yes men, they circle and dance to the fiddle of corporate finance. They twist and they turn but can't hide the fat cat marauders behind. So kindle in spark, fan every flame, set the city alight and our futures reclaim. We will not lie down, we will rise, we will fight, we will not lie down, we will walk through the darkest night, we will not lie down, we will rise, we will fight, we will not lie down, we will walk through the darkest night, we will walk through the darkest night, we will walk through the darkest night. I was watching the telly during the Euro crisis, as you do, and the BBC anchorwoman said, right, we're going to go over to the stock exchange now to get the opinion of a market trader on what the government should do about the economic crisis. And this is what he said.
Personally, it doesn't matter. I'm a trader. I don't really care about that kind of stuff. I go with if I see an opportunity to make money, I go with that. So for most traders, it's not about, we don't really care that much how they're going to fix the economy, how they're going to fix the whole situation. Our job is to make money from it. And personally, I've been dreaming of this moment for 3 years. I had a confession, which is, I go to bed every night, I dream of another recession. I dream of another moment like this. It's not a time right now to wishful thinking the government is going to sort things out. The governments don't rule the world. Goldman Sachs rules the world.
Truth on the BBC. You don't get that very often, do you? Maybe the anchorwoman was a little taken aback by that remark. Early on in the economic crisis, we did a project with the National Union of Journalists, the NUJ, and the Campaign for Broadcasting Freedom, and we looked at why it was that the media never told any of the stories which a lot of people on the left were saying that we were heading for a major economic crisis. One of the people we interviewed in that process was Paul Mason, who at that time was the economics editor of Newsnight, and then he went to Channel 4, and I think he's a freelance journalist now. And we went round to his house at 10 o'clock on a Sunday morning. He had a few pints the night before, so he doesn't look that great on the video. And we confronted him with a question. Could you give us a definition of neoliberalism? This is what he said. Oh, by the way, we're going to wrap it around a song called I'd Rather Shovel Shit Than Be an Entrepreneur.
For 20 years, the dominant narrative of capitalism has been that markets know better than governments, and that the state, regulators, governments were getting in the way of a flourishing market economy. And so what you had to do was to, piece by piece, pare back the state out of the economy.
This government has rolled back the frontiers of the state and will roll them back still further. And so popular is our policy that is being taken up all over the world, from France to the Philippines, from Jamaica to Japan, from Malaysia to Mexico, from Sri Lanka to Singapore. Privatization is on the move.
This song is called I'd Rather Shovel Shit Than Be an Entrepreneur. Once upon a time, not so long ago, you could always get a job with Capital and Co. You didn't like the boss, didn't want to stay, walk out the door, new job next day. You didn't have to creep, you didn't have to crawl, you didn't get shafted and pick up bugger all. You didn't kowtow to some smarmy swine if they gave you grief. Form a picket line, don't wanna be a boss, don't wanna run a bank, don't wanna be a cop or a judge, no thanks. Don't wanna be a lord, don't wanna be a sir, I'd rather shovel shit than be an entrepreneur.
Every neoliberal government that came to power in the 1970s and 80s came to power not just on a program of let's cut the benefit system, let's privatise things, all the overt economic goals of neoliberalism. It came to power on another program, which is let's smash organised labour. Because organised labour in the neoliberal framework is a barrier to the efficient working of the market.
We don't make cars and steel anymore. The grass grows green on machinery and floors. Factories, foundries, stewards are gone, and everything we had they shipped to Hong Kong. The only thing that matters is making a profit. Thatcher's drug and they can't get off it. They're bringing you down until you're on your knees. Then they shout, blame the refugees. Don't wanna be a boss, don't wanna run a bank,
Don't wanna be a cop or a judge, no thanks. Don't wanna be a lord, don't wanna be a sir. I'd rather shovel shit than be an entrepreneur.
For 20 years, real wages in America didn't rise for the average Joe. And yet their living standards did rise. Their lives looked better, felt better. So they had swapped the high-wage, high-growth society of the 70s for a low-wage, high-growth, fueled-by-debt society.
Well, this is the land where the dollar is king. This is the land where the prophets sing. And this is the land where the poor stay poor and God's own children are kicked out the door. This is the land of the corporate fist. If you don't make money, then you don't exist. They'll mortgage your life, they'll poison your dreams.
Money don't talk, money screams.
Don't wanna be a boss, don't wanna run a bank. Don't wanna be a cop or a judge, no thanks. Don't wanna be a lord, don't wanna be a sir. I'd rather shovel shit than be an entrepreneur.
The banks collapsed because they had huge amounts of bad debt. And when the banks collapsed, the system collapsed because nobody knew who was carrying how much bad debt. And the reason for that was they created, in the short space of 10 years, an almost secret and opaque system of what we call now the shadow banking system.
Don't talk to me about equality. Don't talk to me about democracy.
I don't wanna be in their rat race. I'm not a rat, and this ain't my race. Social inclusion, I hear them shout, yeah. If they're included, you can count me out. Their equal ops is a bloody farce.
When will I include the working class?
Don't wanna be a boss, don't wanna run a bank. Don't wanna be a cop or a judge, no thanks. Don't wanna be a lord, don't wanna be a sir. I'd rather shovel shit than be an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur, an entrepreneur. We've been working with lots of unions. That's our main audience that we play to, our trade unions, and whether that's at a rally or a demo or a picket line or whatever. And one of the unions we worked with was the PCS, who organised public sector workers, and they wanted us to talk to their staff in the Inland Revenue and to talk about the £120 billion every year in avoided, evaded and uncollected taxes. And so we're doing this next song, which is called The Tax Dodger, and it's particularly relevant at the moment when we hear that Starbucks, Apple and who was the other one? Whoever, all of them are dodging their taxes. What was it? Starbucks are paying 0.001% of what they should be paying instead of the full amount in Ireland. So yeah, so this song has got a chorus. All you got to say is, he's the dodger, a tax dodger. He's the dodger and he's doing fine. Try speaking it first, right? He's a dodger, a tax dodger. He's a dodger and he's doing fine. You got it? Okay, so I'll shoot to that. Oh, end of it.
Good evening. The Chancellor has delivered his 7th budget, the most radical of recent years.
We'll replace maintenance grants with loans for new students.
But working aid benefits will be frozen for 4 years, student maintenance grants will be scrapped, and housing benefit for the under-21s will also disappear.
We have to move Britain from a low-wage, high-tax, high-welfare society to a higher-wage, lower-tax, lower-welfare economy.
Overall, taxes will rise by almost £50 billion.
For those aged 18 to 21, we're introducing a new youth obligation that says they must either earn or learn.
Refusing to budge on cuts, David Cameron kicks off Tory conference.
It's tax credits that are cut the most. fewer people will get them and they'll be less generous.
Inside the conference hall, it's full steam ahead with their welfare cuts.
We will legislate to freeze working age benefits for 4 years.
He's a dodger, tax dodger. He's a dodger and he's doing fine. He's a dodger, tax dodger. He's a dodger and he's doing fine. He's a dodger, tax dodger. He's a dodger and he's doing fine.
Theresa May as a wealthy hobby, investment banker, a little grubby. His finance firm ain't got no scruples, looking after Starbucks, Amazon and Google. Tax evaders, everyone. Theresa May, we know you're talking out your bum.
She's a dodger, a tax dodger. She's a dodger and she's doing fine.
Tax avoidance is the activity undertaken by large companies and wealthy people in particular, who employ accountants, people who look a bit like me, who've got the same qualifications as me, who actually use their skills so utterly unproductively to work out what the loopholes are that they can get their clients around the tax law.
Philip Hammond, our new Chancellor, does his taxes even fancier. He has his dosh with his wife, but only want to make a better life. 7 mil, is all they've got.
7 million.
But we're all in this together. Oh, we're not.
That's right.
He's a dodger, a tax dodger. He's a dodger and he's doing fine.
They have teams of accountants looking for legal loopholes, and that the last government and this government are reticent about closing them because they think that all these financial institutions will decamp elsewhere if they do. Then, in my opinion, would we miss them? And at 1.3 trillion to bail banks out, can we afford them?
Tory has been dodgy babe, says tax evaders would have to pay. His father in had money galore, invested on many a foreign shore. David's dad made David rich, so we know he's another lying son of a bitch.
He's a dodger, a tax dodger. He's a dodger and he's doing fine.
Andy Mitchell moved his cash out to the Cayman Islands, where he can splash out. He's conscientious and benevolent. He was the boss of international development, caring for the global poor and dodging taxes on a foreign shore.
He's a dodger, a tax dodger. He's a dodger and he's doing fine.
We have corporations where the directors, managing directors, are paying less tax than their premiums.
We could change the rules on tax residents, which are exploited by the very rich, who rush in and out of the country for not paying tax, turn up here to work and go back tomorrow going in the evening. Absurd but true.
Sir Philip Green, Don Pussybook, he told Tories once because what meets his edge was being played. He was sailing in his yacht around the neck. His travel plans are penny by no, because they don't pay any taxes in Monaco. Dodger, a tax dodger. He's a dodger and he's doing fine.
If you really crack down on the multinationals. You could be looking at 20 billion by focusing on the top 20 companies who are the prime tax avoiders.
It isn't just, it isn't fair, a country run for billionaires. They make us pay for all this skanking and the billions they lost on dodgy banking. Tax them all until they crack it, and if they don't like it here, send them packing. Cause the dodgers, tax dodgers, cause the dodgers and they're doing fine.
Vast amounts of money that's out there to be collected make the code's figures look relatively insignificant.
Hands off our schools, hands off our pay, hands off our pensions, our working day. Our mothers fought and our fathers strive to build for all a fairer, better life. Exploitation, we should stop it. Tax their riches, tax their bonuses and profits, because the dodgers, tax dodgers, because the dodgers and they're doing fine, because the dodgers, tax dodgers, because the dodgers and they're doing fine.
I've been arguing now for some time that what we have in Western politics is neither the extreme left nor the extreme right, but an extreme centre. And this extreme centre encompasses both centre right and centre left, which agree on fundamentals: waging wars abroad, occupying countries and punishing the poor, pushing through austerity measures. It doesn't matter which party is in power, either in the United States or in the Western world. Things, carry on like before. There's continuity from one regime to the next.
We have been working for the past 3 years now with the National Union Teachers, working with them to defend the fight back against the neoliberalisation of education, which is going on not only in this country but all around the world, with more and more targets and more competitive schools and the privatisation of education with academisation and free schools and all the rest of it, and also the removal of democracy. This next song is about democracy. One of the first show we did with the NUT was a show called Lies, Damned Lies and Academies, and it was based on a brilliant campaign which took place at Downhills Primary School in London, where they fought on every front using culture and all the things we believe in as well as part of that weapon. And they were ultimately taken over by the Lord Harris, who is head of Carpet Right, and has a chain of academies now called, I don't think they're called Carpet Right Academies, the Harris Academies. And they imposed, the group that imposed the academisation, that made the decision, had 2 people from the Harris board on that committee. And it was called the IEB, or the Interim Executive Board, that was used to close it down. It's a completely undemocratic structure. Which reminds me very much of what is happening in the Labour Party at the moment, where the Compliance Committee is going around and deciding who to eject from the party because they might vote the wrong way in the forthcoming leadership elections. This song's about democracy, and it's called No Matter Who You Vote For, the Government Gets In. That's your bit at the end, I'll point to that when we get to it.
The more you love
lovely people, wherever you may be, it's time to celebrate our great democracy. Every 5 years we all get to choose. Some go for pinks and others go for blues. Whatever shade you go for, please don't be upset when everything they promise you, you never ever get. Cause no matter who you vote for, you're never gonna win. Cause when the dust goes down, the government gets in. Last time we had the vote, Cameron needed rise. We're all in this together. What a pack of lies. Tax cuts for the rich, 9 grand student fees, welfare slashed and our wages freeze. And housing democratic, they've never even asked us as they sell the NHS off to private contractors. No matter who you vote for, you're never gonna win. Cause when the dust goes down, the government gets in. We had a referendum, they asked us to decide which bunch of merchant bankers would take us for a ride. They lied about our future, lied about our NHS, lied about our great economy. What a bleeding mess, their tax war policies got us in this hole. And then they try and blame it on the Portuguese and Poles. No matter who you vote for, you're never gonna win. Cause when the dust goes down, the government gets in. Well, they meddle with our minds and call it consultation. Focus groups, mass manipulation, another bloody war, another call to action. Is it weapons of destruction or weapons of distraction? I thought democracy meant they listened to us. Are they servants of the people? Ha ha! Discuss! No matter who you vote for, you're never gonna win. Cause when the dust goes down, the government gets in. If you're in the Labour Party, each member gets to choose who'll be the next leader to see the struggle through. Well, they all vote for Jeremy. Oh my, what a sin. Well, the folks who run this country didn't want to have him in. The guardians of the party said, we know what's best for you. In the interest of democracy, we're going to have a coup. No matter who you vote for, you're never gonna win. Cause when the dust goes down, the government gets in. Come all you lovely people, wherever you may be, it's time to take the mock out of democracy. The great ship of state, you'll never turn around. The captain is a crook, the mate is a clown. You can slave all your life to keep the privateers afloat, or join the mutineers and occupy the boat. No matter who you vote for, you're never gonna win. Cause when the dust goes down, the government gets in. Well, we've done quite a lot of work over the past 4 or 5 years with around the NHS. We worked a lot with Unison on this, and the next section is a little bit longer piece, just focusing on the NHS, because I think it's so important to us in this country. And of course, they know damn well they can't just say outright that they're going to privatise the NHS, because they know there is an umbilical link between the people of this country and the National Health Service, and the only way they can do it is by stealth. So we're going to take it back now to 1947, when the NHS was established. It's worth remembering that at that time, The deficit, pro rata comparison to today, was 20 times higher than it is today. The national debt, which is the accumulated deficit, was 5 times higher than it is today. And yet, they took into public ownership gas, electricity, the mines, the steel industry, the Bank of England, and they established the jewel in the crown, the National Health Service. These cuts are not logical, they are ideological.
When they turn round and say that the country can't afford this, that and the other, I think of 1945, when we were on our knees, when we had no industry, when we had lost a tremendous amount of housing from bombing, when we did tremendous things, we established the welfare state, we made it possible to have a much more humane society.
We danced in the streets, our eyes with fire were blazing.
We walked proud and tall, our hearts with hope were racing.
We sang from the rooftops, no more starvation wages.
We won this bloody war, we're demanding changes now.
We were told then that the nation just couldn't afford to do this, to do that, to do the other useful thing. Even though we could see lords and ladies in their Rolls Royces doing all sorts of daft things that cost a lot of money. But they still told us that the nation was too poor. Most people believed it. The war had shown that was not true, that for anything that you really needed to do, the money could be found.
Charles at 23 was a submarine commander, told him in a prison camp. For 4 long years he was stranded, jumped in a sailing boat, took part in the D-Day landing, free healthcare for all. This we are demanding now.
Mary McIntyre worked as an iron molder, a land fit for heroes. That is what they told her. Elsie worked the land, she drove their diesel tractor, fighting for the NHS. Nothing will distract her now.
We're not going back to donkeys and evictions, and we're not going back to slums and dereliction, and we're not going back to sickness and to squalor. We want action now, and we won't wait till tomorrow. We're not going back.
There was a real big political struggle. Doctors, nurses, trade unionists, WI, Women's Institute, they were talked to on the benefits of the National Health Service.
Rosie and Adele, she popped those shipyard rivets. Liz was a frontline nurse, she gave all that she could give it. Jill was working nights when the doodle bugs were dropping. She organised a union, said there'll be no stopping us now. While they banished Hitler's tanks, destroyed his guns and mortars, fought in the midnight sky and the icy Baltic waters. In the killing fields of France, they gained an education. We won this bloody war, we'll fight for a better nation now. We're not going back to donkeys and evictions. We're not going back to slums and dereliction, and we're not going back to sickness and to squalor. We want action now, and we won't wait till tomorrow. We're not going back.
At the end of the war, we decided we would apply the same principle
to meet the needs of peace, and we had to meet the needs of war. Whatever we needed, we would do, and that's exactly what we did with local health services. We had a means housing program and so on. And that was how the welfare state was built. It was a practical demand by people to have their needs met.
They worked in the mounting shops, on mountain fields were farming, told on the factory floor, the women's hidden army, from Cairo to Dunkirk, in blood the names are written, World War II is won, that battle is for Britain now. We're not going back to don't use any fictions, and we're not going back to slums and dereliction, and we're not going back to sickness and to squalor. We want action now, and we won't wait till tomorrow. We're not going back, we're not going back, we're not going back.
I'm John Lister. I'm Information Director for London Health Emergency, which is a pressure group for the NHS, and I've been doing it 30 years next April. I think we're looking at a three-way attack on the NHS. It's an absolutely massive cash squeeze, coupled with the Health and Social Care Act, which has opened up a large chunk of the NHS budget to private providers, to competition, and to all kinds of fragmentation, which actually encourages a greater and greater private sector role within the public sector budget. And on top of that, we have the Private Finance Initiative. That's the use of private money to actually take over the capital base of the healthcare system, which the NHS was one of the biggest landlords in the country, and is now increasingly a tenant on a massive scale, forking out now billions a year in rent on these buildings, and more and more to come over the next 30 years. The three together mean that the actual base of the NHS as an integrated public service is under threat. And I'm convinced that the government has a plan to actually scrap the NHS as we know it, and effectively take the tax-funded pool of money to actually foster the emergence of a private health insurance system, with the public sector remaining simply as a rump to deal with emergencies. So what we're looking at is like a salami slicing, a selected cuts of the NHS being effectively privatised and handed over to the bits that the private sector wants. And the rest of it is being left as an increasingly underfunded, low prestige, publicly humiliated in many ways service, because as the funding runs down, as the pressure grows on frontline staff, we're getting these reports now about lapses in care, poor systems of care and so forth in hospitals, and these are being used as a way to actually separate the public from their historical allegiance to the NHS, which has gone back to 1948.
When you see that there's a local campaign about a service, get involved with it. Because if you don't get involved, you may be looked upon as a generation that allowed the NHS to be privatised, not the generation that stopped it from being privatised.
Well, who's made the decision that it's better off being privatised? You know, nobody came and asked me. Nobody knocked on my door and said, do you think the service? Because the answer would be no.
Hi, baby. What a fella, eh? What's your engine? Sorry, mate. Yeah, now Bevan, I was saying, didn't really know much about now Bevan until I started on this project. Since then, I found out that he was a minor-term politician. I was most impressed with the fact that he was one of the founding members of our health service. A service that past government, present government are trying to privatise. But it's a service that we still have to fight for. Would you agree? Yes. Would you agree? Yes. Okay. Anyway, like this. I had a little dream just the other day. I made a phone call to heaven, didn't have to pay. Spoke to Nye Bevan on his holy telephone. I got a direct connection instead of free to roam. I got bad news now, and here's the reason why. The Tories and the Lib Dem, they're gonna privatize. I don't know why.
Privatisation is just another way of the fat cats earning money rather than delivering a service. It's a public service.
It's a nice big sound, he says.
Get on the firm.
I says it's Jeremy Hunt and he doesn't give a toss. So now he says to Jeremy,
Just you confess, it's a Tory wet dream to privatise the NHS.
Sorry, Mr. Bevan, these must change your seat. We need market forces to set the circus free. Shout, shout, everybody's gotta shout, shout. Then we're gonna kick them out, out. Everybody's gotta shout, shout. Then rich profiteers said they blew out the door.
Privatisation, kick it out the door.
So now he says,
markets never done before. Welfare for the rich and destitution for the poor.
Today, Mr. Bevan, caring capital went down at 11.
Caring capital was never any good. Next thing you'll tell me they're privatising blood.
It's funny you should say that. It's in our corporate plan. The blood market is moving from the US to Japan. The firm that does the best deal with them and we go.
Lots of big bastards, send them down below. Factious boys are coming, the vampires at the gate. Don't sit around and dither, drive in the state.
Shout, shout, everybody's gotta shout, shout. Then we're gonna kick them out, out. Everybody's gotta shout, shout. The blood-sucking vampires are coming back for more.
The fangs at the ready and they're queuing at the door.
Patients are not packets of biscuits for Jacobs. They are human beings, so they will not go on the conveyor belts. In the private sector, it's just clicking them on a clicker, going through, because the pounds tot up at the end.
So now he puts the phone down and he gets me on the Skype, he says,
Listen, boyo, we gotta get this right. To get the welfare state for the workers and the poor, it was a bloody bitter battle, full-on class war. Get off your knees and organise, get on your feet and fight. The Tories have their way, we'll all be in the...
Shout, shout, everybody's got to shout, shout. Gonna kick you out, out. Everybody's got to shout, shout.
Sending down to Lucifer, the shovel go below. Privatisation, do, no, shout!
One of the groups we work with when we're doing stuff on the NHS was the Lewisham Hospital campaign. They fought an absolutely brilliant campaign against Jeremy Hunt's plans to close down the A&E and ultimately close down the hospital. They managed to organise a demo of 20,000 predominantly local people, and that scared the living shit out of Jeremy Hunt and co, and they backed off. This is a story of their struggle, and it's just called the Lewisham Hospital Song.
Yes, I think there's a very powerful propaganda exercise going on, because you're starting off with a situation where the NHS is extremely popular. In 2010 it was its popularity was at an all-time high. Oliver Letwin, who's one of the cabinet ministers, had said that by the end of the 5 years of a Tory government there wouldn't be an NHS left at the end of it. Well, how do you do that if something's extremely popular? So you denigrate it, you talk it down, you use negative examples.
One of the former senior managers of United Health America is the head of NHS England. So just think about that. The person responsible at United Health America, who has become an expert in privatising health services around the world, is the head of NHS England. It's quite interesting that the same gentleman was a health aide to Tony Blair, or to Tony Blair's government. So that gives you an idea of the general trajectory for the NHS.
There's a hospital in Lewisham, down by the riverside. The local people love it, and they come from far and wide. Proudly part of the NHS since 1948. Free healthcare for everyone, a people's welfare state. We heard it on the grapevine. The A&E was closed to pay for the debts of the new QE 6 miles up the road. It's a private finance rip-off, taking all the brass. They will not take on A&E, we will not let them pass. No more cuts and no more closures, no more compromises. No more smiling Tory toffers peddling their lies. We're holding this together cause the country's in a mess. I love the bloody porcupines that kill the NHS.
We did the deadline. We had a big meeting of about a dozen local activists, and we said we've got to do something about this. So we decided to hold a public meeting to alert the people of Lewisham to this, and we also penciled in the date for a demonstration.
There's a big knob up in Westminster, the Minister of Health. Jeremy Hunt's his name, more like Minister of Wealth. He's a Dr. Jumper, privatiser, Tory out of hell. It's your fault if you're sick, he says. NHS farewell. So we called an action meeting, as that is what you do. If you want to stop these Tory tossheads walking over you. The room was packed with punters, there were even more outside. You will not close our A&E, the people will decide. No more cuts and no more closures, no more compromises. No more smiling Tory toffers peddling their lies. We're holding this together cause the country's in a mess. I love the bloody porcupines who kill the NHS.
I went down there pretty much as soon as I finished work, and the room was full. I had to sneak in on the side doors to get in the room, and what I didn't realise at that point was that there was 3 other rooms that were full as well, and there was more people that were quite angry out on the streets who couldn't get into any room at all. So it was a really amazing start to the campaign.
So we organise and mobilise and let everybody know. Posters in the windows, leaflets down the road. The wolf was at the door and everybody knew it. The time has come for action, that's the way to do it. We're fighting for our children for we carry their birthright. We fight for those who came before, we will maintain the fight. A generation still to come, we fight for them as well. This hospital is ours to hold, it isn't theirs to sell. No more cuts and no more closures, no more compromises. No more smiling Tory toffers peddling their lies. We're holding this together cause the country's in a mess. I love the bloody porcupines to kill the NHS.
We asked people to come to Catford Town Hall. We had a range of people who were involved in the campaign and the platform, and we asked people to discuss their ideas of what they would like to do. And what came out of that was a plethora of activities over the months.
Well, on the day of the demo, the sky was dark and grey. You start to throw down cats and dogs a filthy Saturday. But people flooded down the street as far as the eye can see. Our demands are simple, no cuts to the A&E. There were doctors, nurses, pizza boys, grandmas, factory workers. Some in heels, some in skirts, some in veils and burgers. New teachers, tailors, taxi drivers, plumbers, packers, porters. With Valentine in the stormy sky, no more clubs and mortars. No more cuts and no more closures, no more compromises. No more smiling Tory toffers peddling their lies. Holding this together cause the country's in a mess. I love the bloody porcupines to kill the NHS.
One example that sticks out in my head is this somebody saying, right, Valentine's Day, let's put some heart-shaped balloons on the gates of the hospital, which was a really simple idea. I forgot about it, but they did it, and I remember sort of driving back into the hospital on Valentine's Day and seeing all these balloons, and it just looked fantastic.
We fought them in the streets, we fought in the legal chambers, demos, rallies, pickets, nothing would restrain us. You servants of the system, you better hear our song. When we march together, we are very strong. We're marching for our children, for we carry their birthright. We march for those who
bit over, Matt. So after we'll do not going back now, and then we'll go to Ward as a to end on. So you have to jump a few cues. This is the first time Matt's done this, so he's brilliant for Matt. And this song is called We're Not Going Back.
They dance in the streets, their eyes with fire blazing.
They walk proud and tall, their hearts with hope were racing.
They sang from the rooftops, no more starvation wages.
We won this bloody war, we're demanding changes now.
St. Cameron and Clegg said they won't touch the healthcare. They're liars and cheats. All they want is just welfare. Destroying by stealth our NHS service, so Bupa and Virgin can decide who deserve it. We're not going back.
Don't use any fiction.
We're not going back.
The slums and dereliction.
We're not going back.
To sickness and squalor.
We want action now.
We won't wait till tomorrow.
We're not going back. Trying to drive us right back to the 30s, where the rich had it all, and to hell with the workers. Thatcher's a dream, so we gotta stop it and put people first, and to hell with the profits. Cause we don't want a healthcare like in the US, where they took all of our money, leave our life in a mess. The first thing they do is to take on your blood, and the Bupa say no, then you're left in the gutter. We're not going back.
Don't use any fiction.
We're not going back.
Storms and dereliction. And
We're not going back.
To sickness and squalor.
We want action now.
We won't wait till tomorrow.
We're not going back.
We do need the trade unions, but we need people on residential streets, in workplaces, single mums, single fathers, married couples, everybody, irrespective of who they are, whatever their role in society is, to come together behind campaigns like the Save Lewisham Hospital campaign, like Keep Our NHS Public, to come together to defeat the Health and Social Care Act, to defeat the EU-US trade agreements, which will allow and permit legally all public services to be fully privatised and give them.
Our grandmas and grandpas had great expectations. They fought for a future for all generations. No more will the poor and the needy be stranded. Free healthcare for all was all they demanded. It's the same dirty deals all across Europe. There's no other way, and that is their chorus. These rich profiteers say they stand in the doorway, and you shall not pass, whether Labour or Tory. We're not going back.
Don't use any fiction.
We're not going back.
Slums and dereliction.
We're not going back.
Sickness and squalor.
We want action now.
We won't wait till tomorrow.
We're not going back.
I think what Lewisham has shown is that people are willing, when they have some hope and they think it's worth it, they will get active on the issue. So how do we build a movement? That's the big question. I think some of the lessons of Lewisham about being non-sectarian, being inclusive, being imaginative, opening up to all different sectors of society is one of the lessons I'd like to take forward for others around the country.
Madrid and in Athens, it's a new situation. The workers say no, they're in occupation. This hospital's ours, and you'll never close it. said this is class warfare and we will oppose it. So they took to the streets with their banners are flying. Free healthcare's a right, it's not yours for denying. In placards and plazas, the people are meeting. Say organize now and you will not be beaten. Cause we are the many, 99%ers with their money and gold. Say they're plotting against us. So stand up and fight, or to hell we'll be driven. So rise up like lions, you men and you women.
We're not going back, don't use any fiction.
We're not going back.
Slums and dereliction. We're not going back to sickness and squalor. We want action now, we won't wait till tomorrow. We're not going back. We're not going back. We're not going back. We want action now, we won't wait till tomorrow. We're not going back.
Can you jump forward to war now, Matt? Is that all right? This is a song we developed. We'll finish on this
in
one.
terms of the violence, I mean, the argument you have to have with people, you smashing a few windows at Tory HQ is nothing compared to the violence these cuts are going to create, the violence of smashing the NHS and the kind of any kind of safety net people might have. You can't compare that to the smashing of a few windows.
When students tried to break away from Parliament, it began a running battle which lasted long into the night. At times the crowd overwhelmed the police and they used their batons freely.
We're from the slums of London, yeah? How do they expect us to pay £9,000 for junior fees? And EMA Johnson keeping us in college? What's stopping us from doing drug deals on the streets anymore? Nothing.
War in the streets, war against the people. Everywhere we go, we just I hear them say, it's war. War in the streets, war against the people. Everywhere we go, we just I hear them say, it's war. It's war. It's war. It's war. Who start the chaos, who cause the war? Who love the rich, then they steal from the poor? Who runs the banks and is making all the profit? Say people we have to stop in the make them make no more. Who gamble money on the stock exchange? Some crowd of people talk, but we have to pay. Who hide their money in the Cayman Islands and then they come back here and robbing us blind? Tell her it's war. War in the streets. War against the people. Everywhere we go, we just hear them say, it's war. War in the streets. War against the people. Everywhere we go, we just hear them say, it's war.
Schools, war in the streets, it's war in the NHS, a war in the university, and the
Who says that tear for the homeless on the wall, cut them services and left them like the poor? Who runs the table and the media lies, then sitting back when people start to die? Who spreading fear and anxiety, talking about this big, big society? All of this together, so what a big lie. We get the crumbs and get all of the pie. Tell her it's war. War in the streets. War against the people. Everywhere we go, we just hear them say, it's war. War in the streets. War against the people. Everywhere we go, we just hear them say, it's war.
war in Britain, war in France, war in Britain, war in France, war in Spain, war in Greece, and the USA.
Our student fees me me I hear them say, 9 grand a year, all them prepare. Who moves the poor from all London streets so they can move in their back elites? Who calls us workshop, they call us yachts. Then they cut all our benefits and steal our jobs. Now them telling us we have to work through it all. One of them and them can't get us in this hole. It's war, war in the streets, war against the people. Everywhere we go we just hear them say, it's war, a war in the streets, war against the people. Everywhere we go we just hear them say, it's war in France, war in Spain, war in Greece and the USA, it's war in Syria, war in Libya, war in Egypt and Bolivia, war. It's war, it's war, it's war.
In this democracy, I as a citizen have the right to stand up for what I believe in. In this democracy, I as a citizen am not accountable to the government. In this democracy, the government is accountable to us, the people. In this democracy, we elect the government to represent us, the people. If they do not do so in this democracy, we have the right to rise up.
We fed up our situations and the way the world are run. The government are helping them and who we don't for fun. Installing negative feelings in our daughters and our son. Then the leak of system taxes make we tumble down. We have to come together as one. United people we strong. We sit and listen to all them have to tell us for too long. We have to put up a fight and make them do what is right. So come we march together right through the night. Get up, stand up to your rights. Come together into all the palm fight. Don't sit back with your hand in your pockets and nothing quite change unless we are to stop it. Everything we say, everything we do, we got to pull together, got to pull on through. The only thing we got, my brothers and sisters, the only thing to do is to organize resistance.
Just to say, if you want to come to our workshop, it's tomorrow at 11 o'clock. 11:30. With virtual migrants and Banner Theatre, talking about how we work, things we do. Have I missed anything, Jacqueline or Hayden? No, that's all I can think of. Huh? Pack the cider. I also really like to thank the in-house engineers who have been great. They've been really helped us. They've been a very special day. And Matt was doing the PA and the video as well. We threw a few surprises on. Big hand for Matt. And finally, although I'd rather shovel shit than be an entrepreneur, we do have some good entrepreneurial products on sale down there. So if you want to buy our latest CD, which has got a lot of these songs on, they're only a £5. And we've got DVDs as well of some of the shows we do. And the songbook, with a collection of songs, photographs, and stories from our struggles over the past 40 years, because we started in 1973. Thank you very much. Hope to see you all on the weekend.
One more huge thank you to Banner, who, like Dave said, has been going all that time and never lost their radical. And what a brilliant way to start the conference. Thank you. So the night is only starting. We're going on till midnight. At 10 o'clock, the bar is open until midnight. At 10 o'clock, you've got 3 different options. You've got the fabulous Clive Parkinson, who will be performing his Recoverist Manifesto, and then Mandy Redbus-Rowe will be joining him to talk about radical arts and health. You've got, and I'm not sure what room that's in, but it's in all your programmes. You've got in the canteen area Andrew Sherlock, who is one of Liverpool's favourite playwrights, and will be presenting a load of his work from the last 20 years, which has looked at the city and the politics of the city. And finally, in the bar, we've got Matthew Lindley from Unity Theatre, who will be open micing what we're calling the Scream. So John Holloway, who we're so honoured to have with us, has an idea of the scream that points to doing. And what we wanted to do was to create a space for people to have a bit of a shout and a bit of a groan and scream about things if they want to, before we get on to 2 days of positive change building and looking at how we can all work, hopefully, towards change. So they're your options now. I hope you have a fantastic rest of night. If you don't want to do any of them and you just want to go and have a drink, that's also fine. So thank you once again to Banner, and thank you to you all.
So chill.